Welcome back. You're watching Plain Speak. For our next story, we're looking at a controversy that refuses to die down in Karnataka. 3 months ago, as you know, the Congress stole from the BJP the state of Karnataka, the only bastion the BJP had in the south. Now, they did it on the back of 5 poll promises. Promises that the BJP from day one has called freebies, accusing the Congress government of doling out what they call welfare at the expense of the state's future. Now, a day after a biting rebuttal from the state's Chief Minister Siddaramaiah on the continued controversy, today the Prime Minister and the Chief Minister actually met. We're going to take a deeper look at A, that meeting, and B, this larger conversation of what the BJP calls freebie politics. And this question the BJP keeps saying, is it leaving the citizens wanting? We want to take a deeper look at this. We have guests with us to take a deeper dive on this show. We have Mohan Vishwas. He's a spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP. We have Aishwarya Mahadev. She's a spokesperson of the Congress. B.S. Arun, a senior journalist, and Professor Chandan Gowda, a professor from ISEC. I'd like to ask all our panelists, we have a positive time, so I'm going to come over to each of you with one question. I'm going to ask each of you not to talk over each other. Professor Chandan Gowda, we had you on this exact topic 2 days ago when we first discussed this. And I'm actually going to open with a question similar to the one we asked you a little earlier. So we asked you to provide us an economic analysis of the main counterpoint that's come into this about 52,000 crores that will be required to fulfill those 5 promises. The BJP has said this is not an amount that is good for the Karnataka economy, that you're hurting other needs. So as someone with economic insight of how the Karnataka economy is performing, whether or not they can afford this, can you shed some light, sir?
The amount you mentioned is about 16% of the overall budget. So it's not eating into the budget of the other departments that much. And it's well within the fiscal responsibility, criteria that they've mentioned. It exceeds it by a little bit, but still manageable because the tax revenues keep going up every year. That said, I would also like to compare other big, infrastructure commitments of the state. The metro gets 30,000, an equivalent figure almost. Bangalore gets 45,000 in all. So I wouldn't be excessively focused on just this and not look at the other components. And in a broad spirit of welcoming welfareist policies, I think it's a good start. And there are teething problems, as we can see in the first 2 months, but I expect them to get sorted out as we go on. But broadly speaking, a social security welfare net is something that we desperately need. And we need a fine way of thinking about it in terms of our resources, etc. It's a start. And I think we should give them a little more time to prove themselves and the effectivity of the programs.
Okay, all right. Mr. Gowda, if I can ask you to stay, let's go over now to the other guests that we have with us right now. I want to go over to the BJP to get their response to that. Mohan Vishwas, a spokesperson from the Karnataka BJP, is with us. Mr. Vishwas, I just want to ask you, as the professor has made clear, the statement that keeps getting made that they don't have the money in the state of Karnataka, that isn't entirely correct. And Mr. Vishwas, what I want to come back and ask you also is that the BJP, when it comes to this entire concept that you call the freebie politics, the BJP isn't entirely innocent. In Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan has done exactly that. Under the guise of freebies, he too has introduced that a certain amount will go to women across the state of Madhya Pradesh. The Chief Minister Siddaramaiah in Karnataka has himself questioned the Prime Minister and said, don't various schemes of the Prime Minister's also look like freebies in some ways? So, Mr. Vishwa, what does the BJP have to say to that?
See, first of all, good evening. Thank you for having me in the show. See, what I want to make here is, there is a difference between social welfare scheme and freebies. You just quoted a scheme of Shivraj Singh Chauhan ji in the state of Madhya Pradesh, which got introduced way back in February 2023, okay? Whereas election is happening in December. So that was a scheme which got announced. Later on, the Congress copied the scheme over here in the state of Karnataka, and they said. So what I want to make over here is, See, there is a difference between social welfare and freebies. Here in the state of Karnataka, Congress announced this scheme only for the sake of winning election, not for the sake of uplifting the poor. That is hurting.
Sir,
So that
that's
is
what I'm
what
trying
we
to
are telling.
understand. How can
so
you...
if you look at
One
the
second, sir.
kind of...
I do want to come
No,
in
let
with
me
a
finish.
counterpoint.
Let me finish.
No,
Let
sir, I
me
do
finish,
want to
please.
ask you here. I'm not entirely
No, let me
understanding.
finish,
Your
please.
point is that it's okay that Madhya Pradesh did this because it's 6 months before the elections, but sir, that's close enough, isn't it?
No. What I am telling is Congress did only for the sake of winning elections. And now they're, that hurting the Karnataka economy. Let me tell you, there was a letter written by an SP of Yadgir district yesterday to the police officer stating that there is no money from the government to pay the salaries. And also there is no money to pay the salary of KSRTC employees. And there is no money to pay the salary of Northeastern Karnataka state employees. And also 18 MLAs signed a letter and sent to Mr. Sidramaya stating that they are not getting a proper money for their respective constituencies for the purpose of development. And this is happening even after increasing additional duty in the budget on liquor, even after increasing the valuation of property in the budget, even after increasing the royalty on stone crushers, even after increasing the rate of milk in the state of Karnataka. So even after increasing all these things, if they are unable to make the payments, means what's happening in the state?
But sir, one second, I must ask you, we did speak to an economic specialist who said, look, when you take a look at the overall situation, checks and balances, everything's in place, nothing to worry about. To that, what do you have to say? All right.
So you're asking me?
Yes, sir. But actually, I'll move on to the other people we have with us on the panel. I'll come back to you. Aswarya Mahadev, she's a spokesperson of the Congress. Ma'am, thank you for joining us here today. I do want to ask you one question, ma'am. And this was actually a question that was raised by the BJP too right now. We did see how a few weeks ago, actually, just a few days in fact, K Shivakumar, the Congress leader, did have to end up making a statement to the press about MLAs who'd sent this letter. Now, he rubbished the letter, but he did say that, look, right now money has been diverted to these promises. We can't give money to the MLAs. So I just want to ask you there, how should our audiences interpret that? In some way, was there a lack of management there that you do have MLAs coming out with a letter? These kind of controversies are embarrassing for a party that's just come into power.
Good evening, Toya. I think first two other responses. It almost seems like if something is promised by the BJP, it is for social welfare, while it is done by the Congress, it is obviously revdi or a freebie. And I think that distinction is ridiculous, whether it was offered 6 months ago or a year ago. If they in principle believe that 2,000 or 3,000 rupees Shivraj Chauhan is giving them in Madhya Pradesh is social welfare, in principle, the same thing is happening with Grihalakshmi here first.